Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I want to talk to you about 3 reasons your fearful avoidant ex may want to be friends. So these are the 3 most common reasons that I see in terms of all patterns in relationships in general, particularly with the fearful avoidant. Of course, there can be other reasons outside of this, but these are the top 3 most common things that I see on a regular basis. Please keep in mind the stage of the relationship will make a difference. Like if you have to co-parent, for example, with somebody you've been dating for 20 years and married to and living in a house with, and you're co-parenting with 2 children, there may be a different just surface level incentive there that's like, hey, you have to learn to get along because you're in this situation with this individual, right? But I'm talking more about like when there are not external circumstances forcing there to be some kind of connection, why the fearful avoidant may reach out to gain this connection in some form. So number 1, and this is one of the most common ones, and it tends to be a little bit unique to fearful avoidance. Fearful avoidance, because they have the avoidance side and are not quick to let somebody in. Once they do let somebody in at a deep level, they often feel like that person is like bonded to them. And fearful avoidance sort of usually maintain this feeling of emotional connection to people when they've let them in really deeply, because they don't do that often, nor do they do that with that many people. So sometimes fearful avoidance will kind of feel like an ex is a friend for life, whether they're talking or not. And if that person happens to pop back up in their life in some form, they may be really open to letting that person in, to communicating with them, etc. And it's sort of because they sort of maintain this like emotional connection of a bond. So this is the most common thing. Now, the interesting thing is that fearful ones, when they do reach out to exes, or when they do get into communication with exes for whatever number of reasons from the past, they often can be very friendly, and they sort of feel like, oh, we can pick up from where we left off, but not with the romantic component there. And sometimes I find that other attachment styles can be confused by that and often take it in a way that's like, oh, this person is trying to get back together with me all this time later, or things like that, when that's just usually not the case whatsoever. So that tends to be one of the first and most common reasons. What I also find as a fairly strong rule for fearful avoidance is once they've decided a relationship is truly over romantically, they can fully and completely close that romantic side, like just completely shut it off as if it never existed, will never exist again. And they can have this like really strong romantic boundary while still kind of having this like openness to maintain some kind of emotional connection or friendship without thinking twice about it. So it's sort of this unique relationship fearful avoidance have to their exes that way, in terms of how they remember them or think about them, or were to interact with them many years later or many weeks later if the relationship is truly over. Number 2, fearful avoidance may reach out as well, or try to be friends or something like that, because they're curious about your life. Fearful avoidance are often just very interested in human behavior, the human psyche, how people are doing, like what's going on. And just sort of from that perspective of curiosity can be open to sort of maintaining a friendship. But in this case, the specific difference is you won't see the person trying to check in regularly or like really have a deep friendship. They'll just sort of have like a surface level hello, maybe over social media, a quick catch up through a couple of messages over social media, something that's more surface in terms of the nature of its interaction. By the way, if you want to do a deep dive into like our January, February, March, we have a 3-month, we add an extra webinar to the school. We're doing all attachment style interactions as live courses. And we're going to go through and talk about 2 fearful avoidance in a relationship, FADA, FAAP, DAAP, the whole 9 yards, in terms of like in-depth interactions, what happens in relationships, how to break down different patterns or challenges, how to overcome these things. So if you want to join in for that, you can click the link in the description box below, sign up for the All Access Pass membership, and you'll see access to all those different things throughout January, February, March in our members lounge. And you'll get emails sent to your email, and they'll be recorded as well. So if you can't attend live, you'll get access to the session right afterwards. Anyways, so this brings me to number 3. Number 3 is they want to show support or care. Fearful avoidance, because they come from that slightly codependent perspective, can often like get caught worrying about somebody much later on. Usually it actually comes back to number 1, that there's still some kind of bond, emotional connection or friendship or care that's there, that's sort of like seared into the fearful avoidant, because they're not so quick to open up to so many people at a deep level. And so with that bond can come the patterns of a relationship. If that bond is still there internally for somebody, then how do we react when we carry a bond towards somebody. And if you still have codependent patterns as a fearful avoidant, you may find yourself as somebody who's like, I'm worried about this person. Are they okay? Kind of reaching back out, kind of checking back in. And it's purely coming from that space of having that bond and then the codependency that follows. So wanting to show that support or care because you're worried about somebody, concerned, feel guilty about the way something ended, sort of these types of patterns can also show up there as well. And so if you're on the receiving end of this, it's important for you to be able to just like take some time, figure out where you're at, what you need, what your boundaries are. Don't be afraid to open some transparency in the conversation if you do feel confused. But oftentimes I would definitely say fearful avoidants lean towards being like truly just friends and not really having a romantic component there because they have a tendency to really shut it down when a relationship ends. So just important to keep that in mind. Hopefully this all makes a lot of sense. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.